Hello students, welcome to engineering geology subject. We have started with the geomorphology module 2. In today's class we will discuss about the landforms. So let us understand what are the landforms. So landform is a natural feature of the solid surface of the earth or any other planetary body. So it is a natural feature. So landforms, they together make up a given terrain and their arrangement in the landscape is known as the topography. So we in and around us we see many type of landforms, like the landforms formed by river, water, then wind. These are different landforms which are produced, like the waterfalls. Then we see the dunes, sand dunes, waterfalls, then hills, valleys. All these are the natural structures or the landforms we call them. Okay, these are produced as a result of weathering, erosion, transportation, deposition, different processes which are active on the earth's surface. So these are all called as the landforms, which are the solid the natural features of the solid surface of the earth. So the natural agencies which are responsible for changing the earth into different landforms, they are the wind, water and glaciers. Okay, these are the chief agents. Okay, and slowly and continuously these agencies, they modify the surface of the earth and bring about the changes in the landscape. So these agents involve different processes like erosion, transportation and deposition. So based on which of the agent is active, there are different landforms which are produced by that particular agent. Okay, so aeolian, first one is aeolian landform. So here word aeolian stands for the landforms which are formed by wind. It may be erosional or depositional activity which is taken or which is taking place by the wind. Okay, so wind is the main active agent. Then the landforms formed because of the wind, they are called as aeolian landform. Then fluvial, next is fluvial. As the name tells, flowing means they are the landforms which are formed by the water. It may be a river. Okay, so landforms which are formed by the water, erosion, transportation and deposition activity of the water, then they are called as fluvial landforms. Then the next is coastal and oceanic landforms. So coastal landforms, wherein the sea water is involved in bringing out the changes and forming the different landforms where sea water is involved. Sea water is the active agent. Then glacial landforms, like when the glaciers are playing the important role. So for now we are going to discuss all these different landforms in detail one by one. So first we will discuss the aeolian landform, that is the landforms formed by wind. Okay, wind is a natural agency. So let us understand about the geological work of wind first, then we'll see the different landforms formed by the action of wind. So what is wind? Or first, what is air? Air, we all know that it is a mixture of gases, right? So air is composed of mainly different gases which is collectively called as the air. And this air, when it is in the motion, when this air is in motion, okay, air is moving, then it is called as the wind. When air is in motion, we call it as a wind. So this wind, which is one of the highly active natural weathering agent, and it is responsible for various geological changes which are taking place on the earth's surface. Now, how this wind moves or how it is formed? Yes, so winds are produced mainly due to non-uniform heating of the surface of the earth at different places. So we know the earth is heated up because of the sun rays, right? So these winds are produced mainly because of non-uniform or unequal heating of the earth's surface at different places, and this causes what? Difference in the atmospheric pressure. So unequal or non-uniform heating, it will cause the difference in the atmospheric pressure, and this pressure differences make the air to move from one place to other place. So this difference in the air pressure will cause the wind to move from high pressure to low pressure areas. So this is how the winds move from one place to other place, that is because of the difference in the pressure. So during this movement, what happens? Wind create many temporary or permanent changes on the land surface depending upon what? The velocity of the wind, the wind volume, and the nature of the surface over which the wind is blowing, and the duration for which the wind blows over the surface, and like that various factors affect the structures which are formed because of the action of wind. So to understand the geological action of wind, there are different processes which are taking place. So first one is erosion, transportation, and deposition. So the geological action of wind, wherein wind act as a erosional agent. Okay, so wind carries the particles of the sand and other particles from one place to other place, and finally it deposits this material which the wind is carrying. So wind erosion is mainly caused due to three types. One is deflation, abrasion, and attrition. So we'll see this in detail later. Then next process is transportation, and the last one is deposition. So geological action of wind includes first one, erosion, means what? The wind will what wind does? Wind will start eroding. Okay, it will start taking out the material which is weathered. Okay, that is called as wind erosion. Then it will transport that eroded material from one place to other place, and finally what happens? It deposits the material which is carried by the wind. So this includes, these three processes includes the geological action of wind. So during this, there are various landforms which are formed, and those are called as the aeolian deposits. So aeolian deposits are the deposits which are formed by the geological action of wind. Now let us understand the depositional features which are formed by wind. So wind is carrying the sediments and it is depositing at a place, right? So which type of features are formed as a result of deposition? So depending upon the carrying capacity of the wind, the material is deposited. So whenever the velocity of wind is checked or it is stopped because of one or the other reason, the part or a whole load which is carried by the wind, it is dropped and it is deposited at the place of obstruction. So when the deposition take place, whenever there is a obstruction, okay, the obstruction may be a hill or a forest or a bushes or the sudden change in the climate, or it may be because of the precipitation or rain. So when these all obstacles come in between the movement of the wind, what the wind will do? Wind will start depositing the sediments which are carried by it. So the sediments which are deposited by wind in a particular region, that will vary, and it may be very small to very big. So it depends upon how much the load the wind is carrying. So such wind deposits or accumulations which are deposited by wind, they are termed as aeolian deposits, and there are different types of deposits or depositional landforms. So the first one is dunes, barkens and loess. So let us understand what is mean by dune. You might have seen in the desert region the heaps of sand, okay, so these are called as dunes. So these are the wind deposits which are made up of sand, or they are made up of sand size particles, so they are called as sand dunes. So dune is defined as, here you can see there is a dune, okay, so dune is a ridge of sand or the mound of the sand, okay, which has a crest, okay, crest. Then the dune is developed normally when the wind deposits its load due to some obstruction during its transport. So wind is moving, okay, and when it comes or when there is an obstacle, what it does, it will start depositing all the sand which the wind is carrying layer by layer. So this is called as the sand dune. So when this process continues for some time, the accumulated sand, it takes a typical shape of a heap like structure, okay, then it is called as a dune or a sand dune. So this is shown here in the figure, you can see. So a normal dune is characterized by two parts. One is the windward side, okay, gentle windward side. This is the windward side wherein the wind is moving like this, okay. So when the wind moves and there is an obstacle here, then it starts depositing layer by layer. You can see it starts depositing layer by layer like this. The wind starts depositing the sediments or the sand particles, and this is the direction of the wind in which the wind is moving. So this portion, the top portion, okay, that is called as a windward side, it is a gentle, and this part, okay, this side is called as the leeward side, which is steeper, okay, steeper leeward side. So the wind velocity and direction of the wind control the outline and the orientation of the sand dunes. So there are different types of dunes based on how the wind is depositing the material. Like one is shown here in the image, that is called as a longitudinal dune. Longitudinal dune, okay. Then we have transverse dunes like this, the sand dunes, okay, they get deposited transverse, okay, and this is the wind direction. So longitudinal dunes, how they deposit, they are also called as sheaves, okay, they are also called as sheaf. Sheaf is a Arabic word which is the meaning is sword, okay. So they are elongated ridge of the sand with their longer axis, okay, a longer axis which is parallel to the direction of the wind. Okay, so the such type of deposits are called as longitudinal dunes. Then we have transverse dunes. These are called as transverse dunes. They are characterized by their formations in such a way that their longer axis, this is the longer axis which is transverse to the direction of the prevailing wind. So they are called as transverse dunes. So they commonly occur along the seashore, wherein you might have seen the undulation type of dunes which are formed. They range in size, or the length of these transverse dune, it varies from half to 1 kilometer, and the height varies from a meter to about 4 meters. So such type of dunes you can see. Okay, then this is one more type of dune, that is Barken. Here you can see they are the Barkens. These are the Barkens. Yes, so these are the crescent shape, or they are the half moon shape deposits of sand. So they are the crescent or half moon shaped dunes of variable size, and this portion, the pointed portion, is called as the horn. Okay, horn of the dune. So these horns, they point in the downward direction. So this is the wind direction, and these horns, they point to the downward direction, and they are triangular in section. If you take a section, they become triangular, with the steep side on the leeward side and the gentle sloping side on the windward side. So this sloping gentle slide will be on the windward side, and the steep side will be on the leeward side. So the height of such dunes varies from 15 to 200 meters, and the width varies from 1000 meter or even more. So huge deposits of sand will be formed. Even you can observe such deposits from satellite also. Okay, so they have a gentle windward slope and much steeper leeward slope. So they are called as the Barkens, which are half moon or crescent shape deposits of sand. Then we have different types of dunes, like some dunes are formed in a star shape like this. Okay, so depending upon how the wind is flowing, okay, the direction of the wind, and how much sand is carried by the wind, it gives the different shapes to the wind. Then what is mean by loess deposits? They are the aeolian deposits made up of very fine sand, silt or clay size particles which are very fine, and these are characterized by absence of layering or stratification. So in dunes you can see there are layers, but in loess it is not seen. It is unstratified, or stratification is absent, layering is absent. So the lowest deposits are formed when the wind blows over a desert and it enters the region that happens to be covered with a grass or a flat ground, okay, wherein small shrubs or grasses are present, and when the wind is blowing over such area and suddenly there is a precipitation or a rainfall, that will cause the dust or the sand particles to settle down on the ground or the grasses, and these grasses, they will prevent the washout of these particles, and because of that they form huge blanket type deposits. Okay, and they are best seen in China, North America and Europe. So these are called as lowest deposits which are devoid of stratification. So these are all the depositional features which are formed by wind. Now we'll see what are erosional features formed by wind. So erosion, what is erosion? Erosion is the removal of the weathered material and depositing. Okay. So wind erosion, it causes mainly due to three types. One I told you, deflation, abrasion and attrition. So the wind deflation, deflare is a Latin word. They are called as blow away. Okay, blowouts or oases are formed because of the process called deflation. So these blowouts or oases, they are the result of deflation. So deflation is a erosional feature, or its meaning is blow away. Okay, so when the wind is moving with a great velocity over a dry and a loose sand like desert, you can imagine, so it can remove huge quantity of particles from the surface, and this phenomena of removing the loose particles by wind is called as deflation. So what is deflation? Removal of the sand particles or the loose sand particles from the bare ground is called as the deflation, and it is a major process commonly seen in desert region. So deflation is a common process which is seen in the desert. So sometimes this erosion will be so extensive that, or it is so prominent that the depression is created because of the removal of this sand. Okay, and such depressions, sometimes they touch the water table, right? Here you can see there is a sand on all the side, and here at this portion there is a huge removal of the loose particles of the sand, and this has reached so deep that a depression is created, and this depression is touching the base, so base of the water table. So such depressions are called as blowouts, and when such blowouts, they are filled with water body. You can see here is also a water body. So when they are filled with water, okay, they are called as the oasis. So oasis are the depressions which are filled by water. So another feature that is produced by this is the another feature, that is oasis is the feature which is formed by the wind erosion. Then we'll see what are the features which are formed by abrasion. Okay, abrasion or corrosion. So wind in when it moves, okay, when the wind is moving, what it does, it is loaded. Okay, wind is carrying the sediment, the minute grains of sand, silt, they become the powerful scoring or abrading agent. They do the abrasion work. Okay, and the grains, they act as a tool of abrasion, or they simple words you can say that they start polishing the surface, right? So polishing of the rock over which the wind is blowing, and such rocks surfaces over which the wind blows, they get eroded. So this type of erosion by natural agent is aided by load is called as the abrasion, and it is one of the common process, again process of erosion by wind, water and as well as the ice. So one common structure which is formed because of the such type of process of erosion. Okay, so many erosional features are developed because of the erosion. So one common feature is pedestal rock, or it is also called as mushroom rock, pedestal or mushroom rock. So what is that pedestal or mushroom rocks? So they are the flat topped, you can see the top is flat, okay, and they are the flat topped rock bodies that have a very thin supporting base, okay. At the lower region it is very thin, and at the top it is flat, okay. So this is because of the differential erosion. You can clearly see the erosion is more at this point and the erosion is less at the top. Why? Because the wind can carry the sediments up to certain height. So this naturally results in greater erosion at the lower portion and less erosion at the top. So the rock is affected on the upper part also, but not to the same extent. So this differential erosion, it causes the flat overhang. This is the flat overhang, and which is having the thin support, okay. So such type of structure is called as because of the differential erosion, it causes the flat overhang at the top of the rock, and from a distance it looks like a mushroom, okay. From a distance when you see, this looks like a mushroom, so they are called as pedestal or mushroom rocks. Then ventifacts are also formed because of the erosion. So they are the small sized rock fragments, like you can see the rock fragments which are having more than one polished surfaces. So the polishing of the sides of the rough fragment is carried by prolonged wind abrasion on the surface of each fragment. So one by one each surface gets polished by overturning. So suppose this is a rock of a piece of the sediment or the rock, and the wind is moving. When it moves, it starts eroding this surface and it turns, okay. Later it turns, and then the next surface is exposed to the erosion. Like that, all the faces, they get polished, they get carved, okay. So one by one each face gets polished by overturning of the fragments during the strong rush of the wind, and this wind polished and faceted fragments of the rocks, they are called as ventifacts. So these are the different erosional features which are formed by the wind. So wind attrition is one more process, that is wherein sand, when the wind is carrying the sand, when during its transport it collides with each other also. The two particles of the wind sand, they collide with each other also. So during its transportation, so the collision often lead to further breakdown, right. When they collide with each other, they again break. So this type of wear and tear of the particles is called as the attrition, and this leads to the fining of the sand. Sand becomes finer and finer during the transportation of the sand by the wind, okay. So the coarser sediments, they become finer in the process called attrition, okay. So we have seen deflation, abrasion and attrition, and the different features which are formed during this process. So erosional and depositional features. So when the wind is transporting the sediment, what happens? So wind is an active agent of transport of the fine materials, especially the sand and the dust. It moves thousands of tons of these materials from one place to other place. The wind can carry tons of material together, okay, thousands of tons, and this material under transport by wind is called as the load, okay. What is load? The material under transport by wind is called as the load. So the wind carries the load either in suspension or saltation. So what is that? Load, the wind carries either in suspension and saltation. So suspension and saltation. So when the finer particles are lifted and carried at higher level, then the wind is called suspended load. It is in suspension. So it is lifting to a higher height, higher level, then it is called as suspended load. On the other hand, the coarse and the heavier material, heavier particles, they are lifted temporarily, okay, during the high velocity, and they are mostly rolled down or along the surface, okay, so or the ground by leaps and jumps it takes. So this type of load is called as the saltation. So the transporting power of the wind mainly depends upon the wind energy or the velocity of the wind and the material the wind is carrying. So this all covers the erosion or the landforms which are formed by wind action. Okay, thank you. So in the next class we will see the different landforms formed by the river action. Those are fluvial landforms. Thank you.